actually yesterday where it's like a bit topsy-turvy.
Hello, Internet.
One more.
We good?
We're really...
good?
Yes.
We're ready.
We gotta do it.
Okay.
All right. It's really windy here, so I hope that it's gonna work out. I'm with David Ryan, and he actually followed my content for way years back ago. But we're not going to talk about what it is because you don't want to know. You really don't want to know. But tell me can you introduce yourself to everyone else?
Okay, so hello, Internet. I am David Ryan, the co-founder of Corilla. We are a collaborative publishing tool for technical writers.
Technical writers?
Technical writers.
How technical is technical?
So as in technical writers we started Corilla as a part of a Linux company called Red Hat, where we would deal with customers that were buying the product who would be like NASA, DreamWorks, the CERN project, deep tech companies that want to write about how their software works.
Yes.
And we'd write the manuals for how the Red Hat software we would sell.
Do you feel like a lot of people don't know how to do it in a way that's easy to digest and articulate, and that's what you resolved, right, in many ways?
It feels like you're an expert interviewer. You're setting up my answer, so that's what we did. So I joined Red Hat at an era where people were still making books, large objects, and
you don't need that much information, really.
No, and it's bigger than your hand. And in fact, the heavier the book when you dropped it on the table, the larger the sound, the more excited the teams were because they think, wow, you've documented that.
But that's inefficient because I bet you they do it, but they don't really make it efficient in terms of doing how to manually document things efficiently.
Well, the two problems we faced, or that I saw, I was very blessed to join a really smart team at the time. I was working with brilliant people who were as annoyed with our software and way of doing things at Red Hat that I was. And the awesome thing about Red Hat is if you see a problem, you should fix it.
Okay.
That's the culture.
I really like that attitude.
So we made some software for ourselves. We called it Press Gang. This is the early version. Within the first year, we'd taken over 2/3 of Red Hat's global software documentation. There was over 800 books, more than 24 languages it was translated into. I started to speak at some conferences about what we did. I met a wonderful gentleman called Bob Young, who was the co-founder and first CEO of Red Hat. He liked our story, so he suggested that he invest in us and that we leave Red Hat. So I spun out, and a few months later we joined an accelerator in Paris, and the rest is history.
You've been traveling quite a lot, but you're coming back home.
I'll put it this way, we're very excited to have the opportunity to return to Queensland and see how much the community's advanced here.
Because you've been in the industry for like 10 years and it's grown since then, right?
I've been in tech for about that long, but I'd say in terms of technical writing, I've spent my life in content, which is probably how I encountered some of your writing.
Yeah.
The more we don't say what your articles were and how amusing they were, the more people will be interested. So
there's a particular audience that likes my shit.
Yeah, that does a good pitch.
It makes them curious. What do you write about?
What do you write about? So the essence of what we did with Corilla was just take a very unsexy infrastructure problem is how can you find technical writers that hate the tools they're forced to use and help them to write information customers will read. So we simply looked at what, say, MailChimp did. How did MailChimp turn mailing list software into a lovable brand?
How did they do that?
Well, I will show you if I can jump front. They start with a really good brand. See the Corilla there. So we were inspired by what companies like MailChimp did to take infrastructure and make it sexy. And when we left Red Hat, we started to obsess about UX.
So that's a good attitude to have because UX is a new thing that everyone loves these days. User experience.
Yeah.
Make it all about people, man.
Exactly. So without any disrespect to the industry, how it used to be, no one was really caring about the technical writers. So we thought, we're doing this as a living. This is our career. We should love the tools we use. So people say don't obsess about the tools, but the tools were the problem. So we built essentially GitHub for content teams. The easiest way to describe it.
Let me ask you this, where's the future of content going, you think?
We have a view on that. So we think the more academic and scientific writing needs to emulate what, say, GitHub have done, or what Linus did with Git, basically, which is make content reusable and put it in a format that's easy to use.
Do you know, that's my thing, I guess.
Your thing, your jam,
no,
your
it's
shit?
It's not even that. The more geeky you are, the more I have to I want to translate this. The geek seek is real. It's fun. Give me all the information, I will just translate it for you.
You know what? Let's go on the road together. So I'll geek out to the max and you just translate that to our peeps.
Yeah, and I'll probably be efficient doing it as well.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. What are we going to call ourselves?
Geek Speak Translate. I don't know. The title needs some working on.
I think the .com is taken. So
Geeks, it has. but the geek technology, like there's so many smart people out there, and I feel like they have this quirk where they don't. It's almost like they go on a deep funnel and things like that. And the more geeky they are, the less human they are.
Wow.
What? It is. It's almost like they're robots. But the funny thing about the trends of robots is that the more robotic it is, the more human we wanted it to be.
That's a good point, and I'll run with that. So I think one of the best things about the team I've gotten to build is that it really has nothing to do with me anymore. Like Corilla was based on my journey at Red Hat and the love of Bob Young and the founder of Red Hat saying, "I believe in you." And after that, my job was just to find, as you say, the people geekier and smarter than myself. I can comfortably say I'm the dumbest guy in the room. And as long as I am, I'm doing my job right.
I also think it's like, you don't make them feel weird about it.
No.
And that's the thing that we, like, it's, if they fight, like, they feel happy that you're just willing to have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
Because they want to be humans as well.
Well, we're all humans,
Yeah, we're all humans.
Well, we touched on this on the investor panel this morning, which was at 7:30 a.m., which was interesting after karaoke until like 2, 3 a.m. last night.
So, like, I went to the wrong karaoke joint because it's the worst karaoke. It had to say, Brisbane, get your shit together. You have to have better karaoke.
Where would you go? So you're a Sydney sider?
Melbourne, actually.
Oh, you're Melbourne. I've done my research.
Melbourne, like, happens to have... Actually, Asians do karaoke really well, but you have to have a few things that you need to make a really good karaoke joint. Lots of drunk people and games.
Really? There's a place that has an interesting name. I don't really want to say it because I don't really understand if it's really a karaoke place or something else.
Say it.
Well, maybe off camera you can correct me whether something that has multiple floors.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, anyway, go back to your thing. So now, in 2017, what are your plans for Corilla?
You know what? The plans for Corilla aren't about 2017, they're about 2027, right? Ooh. So we have a 20-year product vision. I actually got a little bit heckled by someone because we were talking about this during one of my panels, and I keep getting asked, are we going to sell? What's our exit strategy? And our exit strategy is building an awesome product that solves a problem for real people, and we're doing that.
And I feel like he wants to come, because everyone's been trained to have an exit plan, but you're like, I want to work on this for 20 years. What's wrong with that?
I'm mid-30s and I've actually been working on this information science my whole life. So now's the time I have the best team in the world to do it, and we have enough money in the bank, enough customers, and enough growth, and this community around us at events like Myriad, where it's a good segue, I guess, into the value of coming to this. And we're getting to spend some quality time together. That's nice.
And after like hanging out with like Myriad, what are the vibe that you felt, you collected, and like being immersed in the last couple of days? What do you think of the vibe too?
I'm really happy that it's legit, right? So there are maybe events in other parts of the world that have gotten a little large. So Web Summit's overwhelming, right? Lisbon's very interesting, but the quality of interactions you'll get here is identical to what you get at a slush. When you've come so far with so many interesting people, you really don't take it for granted. You get the most out of that chance where we can have conversations like this.
Okay, one final story. You have a lot of stories about Martin. I have to say it because it's a nice, like, how did you meet Martin? It's like a nice recap of what Myriad represents, because Mari and your maid has done an amazing job, like just making this happen.
Mari and Martin are both very special individuals. I'm touched by their generosity. Just a Martin story, because I know this will embarrass him a little bit, so apologies. We were introduced by a mutual friend. I was doing a trip where I wanted to understand the ecosystem around the world. So basically, whilst I was at Red Hat, I maxed out a credit card to basically go everywhere I could in the amount of time I had left as leave. Red Hat tolerated extending that beyond leave and just turning up one day, getting a bit of trouble. But I went to Helsinki and I reached out and said, hey, I have this media project I'm doing, something called Tech Title at the time. It's small, it's only about Queensland, but I'd love to understand Finland. Can you maybe introduce me? They not only introduced me, but they hooked me up with tickets, gave me media passes, had someone walk me around. It was a really touching experience. But since that day, anytime I go to another tech hub around the world, as a joke, I say, how long since Martin's been here?
Yeah.
Usually, nearly 99% of the time, the people laugh and say, oh, that's funny, he was here last week or a month ago or 6 months ago.
So it's a running joke is like every place has Martin has touched.
Martin has touched.
Martin has touched. Martin has touched that place.
So Where on the map? Yeah, no, let's not go there. But
You're the one who actually gave that funny look in the first place. But Martin has gone and travelled quite a lot, and he's part of like many ecosystems, and it's a reflection of the ecosystem that to have Martin there.
yeah, and I think he's teaching me to be more comfortable with being. So he is a dot connector, right? So we are dots. We are dots. Those of us that put effort into community building and studying the work of people like Martin and Murray, it's to feel comfortable to say, okay, I want to learn all about this other city, and I want to teach that to my ecosystem.
That's amazing. That's a really great attitude. I would love to meet Martin. I haven't officially met Martin, but he's just doing amazing stuff, and I only hear good stories about him.
Mythology of Martin.
Yeah, you should write about it.
Maybe, actually, the thing is, there's a project I keep talking him into. He has to write a book. Not about his journey, but about his journey. Deep, right?
That's a bit too deep for me right now.
Yeah, it's drinking time, so responsibly.
This is like the last video, and I really want to thank David for like sharing the story with me and chasing me and me chasing you, just because I felt like it was a good way to end today.
And thank you. I'm trying to hold this for maximum brand exposure.
Yeah, like and high five. Thank you. Bye everyone.
Where's the high five?